start over.
On the set. Actually, can we record that? Again. All right.
I can feel that slipping through my fingers.
Okay, so we're here at the Shea Cafe with some members of the band In Loving Memory.
Hi, I'm Brian.
I'm Jen. Hello.
How are you guys today? How did you guys feel after playing that set?
It was great. We had a lot of fun. You know, it was nice and sweaty in there, kind of punk rock environment, which is right up our alley.
Yeah, we've been dying to get to California ever since we got back together, and like this is the perfect spot to kick it off. There's so much history, and like usually we're jumping around more. It was so tight packed in there. Like the energy was insane. It was so fun. So we feel good.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Love you guys' set. We just had some quick questions, you know. It was mentioned that because you were all so young at the time the band was created, that touring wasn't really an option. With you only really touring once with your run through Sioux Falls, Sioux City, and Omaha. Now that you're all older and free from the clutches of parents who don't let you out, how has the prospect of touring changed?
Yeah, it was crazy, like having to ask our parents permission to like, you know, go to a show 45 minutes away and stuff like that. We made a lot work. I mean, I think we played in almost every state touching Iowa, but then like getting back together and realizing, yeah, like we're no longer tethered. And our first show out of Iowa was at Dilly Dally, and like that was so like we didn't even know what to expect because, you know, we've only ever played Midwest in Iowa, and like going there and like once we started and how like seeing how much all these younger generation loved it, like that is honestly like you know, this is so fun. Like we have to keep doing it. We have to keep getting out there and getting around. And my number one place to come was California, so now we're here finally, and so it's just like come full circle. It's awesome.
Well, we're very glad to have you, you know. Like we have a really cool scene here, and we were just, you know, we really needed to have you guys here. You know, a lot of you can see in the reaction from the crowd. We all love you here.
And then also last year, me and my husband were here. We went to BlizzCon because we're nerds, and we went to a Widow Dust show, and like after like going and seeing that, and I came home and told the guys, I'm like, we have to go. Like we have to go. It's insane there. So that's like kind of how we got connected with Widow Dust too. And so it's so fun to be able to do this together.
Regarding future shows and tours, are there any bands you'd really like to hit the road with?
Jen's the most familiar with the scene. I'm going to pass this one over here.
Well, I have to say I'm super excited that we get to play with Cinema. Is that tomorrow?
Yeah.
So we're already doing that. But I'd love to get down to Texas, and one of my favorite bands is Bullets Between Tongues, and I would love to go with them. Yeah, that's my absolute like favorite right now. So I would love to do something with them.
It was mentioned in the same interview that due to the lack of internet and online streaming, that the music scene back in your hometown was kept very tight-knit. Do you feel like there was any bands that didn't get the recognition that they deserve? And are there any that have disbanded that you want to reunite?
We always talk about all the bands that, like, from our scene that we'd love to see reunite. Like, I think some of my favorites are like Song of Zarathustra, Spirit of Versailles, you know, the Love Lost But Not Forgotten, Cayambe Communique. I always loved Cayambe. So yeah, I mean, obviously we'd love to see all the old bands like reunite and play shows. It's a lot more complicated than that though.
It's hard when you're old and you all have jobs and families and live across the country from each other, but
yeah.
The Song of Zarathustra, we've been talking about that. Like we like looked up to them so much, and then like asking like some of the kids around, and they've never heard of it, but we're like idolizing them. So that's like blows our mind. I think they should get more recognition than they have. Yeah,
definitely Song of Zarathustra. And then we had 10 Grand, who was priorly called the Vita Blue. They were a kind of short-lived band in the scene at the time back then that like Tanner was actually just talking about how like for some reason they don't ever really get like the recognition that I feel like that they deserved, and like seeing them, we were all just like, oh my god, this band's the best. But yeah, probably those two.
Well, let's hope this short little interview that they get the little boost they need, right? Thank you so much for giving me your time. I'm gonna hand you guys off to Kevin.
How was In Loving Memory created, and where did the name come from?
There's not a good story to the name. I think we were called Day of Atonement, and we were like kind of outgrowing that phase and or whatever. So we figured we'd change the name, and I think I was like saw a semi drive by that had like an In Loving Memory like of somebody on the side. I'm like, that'd be a pretty good name. Like so
Because whenever I see like something that says In Loving Memory, I think of the band.
yeah. See, we get like bonus recognition when you see those. Like everybody's got their ILM sticker.
How did you guys get into screamo, and what does it mean to you?
So like back in our day, like we called ourselves like hardcore. Like everything was just called hardcore. It didn't matter what it was like. And so like screamo really, that like terminology didn't really even come around until like when we were done. Do you think, Brian, or it started to kind of like come into play? There was like emo violence, and there was just hardcore and stuff like that. But getting into that music in general, I mean, I think it was just kind of, we all kind of like felt a little different, and then just like you hear like one hard or heavier band, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's interesting. And then back in the day when you couldn't just go on Spotify or something, like you'd find like one cool kid that like knew about music, and you would just be a sponge and absorb everything they said. We'd go to our friend's house, look through their records, try to remember like band labels. So if you went to the record store, you could flip through and just like, oh, it's on that label. You're like, I'm gonna try it out, but like, yeah, like we really found a community in it, and so it's cool seeing the community growing still to this day.
Yeah, it's really cool. Why did you reunite In Loving Memory, and what's it like getting back together after 22 years?
Reunited, just kind of, we had all like kind of hinted at trying to do it or like wanting to, but like Jordan started poking at us in like 2012 after In It Records put out the discography, like, hey, we should do reunion shows, and it was always just like not the right time in our lives and stuff. Like we were living in like all over the country and stuff. So I think one of the biggest catalysts was like 4 members wound up living back in Des Moines kind of around like 2022 or so. Like it was like Tanner had moved back, he was living in Tennessee, and Joe has been in school forever, and he was living in like Baltimore and stuff. So I think between those guys moving back and like kind of Jordan's like desire to do it and like push all of us towards it, sort of like it just, I don't know, it kind of made sense at that time. And like me and Spencer, we both are the ones that don't live in Iowa, so we were kind of at a spot in our careers where we were able to kind of take time to be able to like fly to Iowa and see if we could do it, and we did it.
Great ever since.
Yeah.
I'd say it's still hard to like, they're like, come play here, but like we can only play like go out and do like 4 or 5 things a year because everybody has such busy lives. Like Joe's a doctor and stuff. Like it's so hard to coordinate. So
What is some music you listen to, and what are some recommendations you give to people?
You got it.
well, I already said I love both Between Tongues and that new cinema. We're playing with them in New York. Other stuff, like old stuff I like I love like Hope's Fall, but Frailty of Words, just that one really. And we grew up when we like all loved like Converge and that stuff back in the day, and like now I've forgotten every band I've ever liked in my life, but I should have pre-thought of that better. But I don't know, Brian's a metalhead, so
yeah, I don't I think that my recommendations wouldn't be pertinent to this conversation, really. Yeah. I mostly listen to like hip hop and metal and stuff, so
So you guys have been a band for a long time. What are some of the crazy experiences you've had playing live or at shows?
I think one of the craziest was like, back in the day, like some of the original stuff, like we played with like a lot of the big names at the time, like in the Botanical Center in Iowa, which was it was a floor venue, like kind of a punk spot, like pretty much just like bring a PA and run vocals and like bass drum through it. But We played with Converge there. We played with Botch there on We Are the Romans tour. And we played with, I think we played with Page 99, like, or Page 99 played. I don't remember if we played that show. I don't know. Yeah, it's a lot. I think more like the modern era of this band. I think like when we played Dilly Dally Fest last year was like probably the first time that we were just like, that was the first time we had played a show pretty much outside of Iowa, and we were like, it's kind of like, holy shit, people actually like are really into this. Like we're not just, it's not just like a centralized thing to where we're from anymore. And that kind of like opened our eyes. We're like, oh my God, like the people are really into this. So, and then like the shows just kind of keep getting crazier.
But like actually like crazy, weird stuff that happened. Like I remember playing in a big gym and Spencer puked mid-set on his drums and kept playing, and the puke was everywhere. And actually when we got back together, he still has the same drum set from when he was a kid, and like the puke was still dried on his drum head. Like his parents just had it in their basement. That was fun. Or like that venue that we would play, the Botanical Center, like they'd be like doing a wedding at the same time that we'd be like having a show, and there'd be like the intermingling was always so funny and like weird, but I don't know.
Yeah. How would you say being in the scene has impacted your life and you as a person?
I am a pretty like shy and introverted person, and like and all through school and everything, the only time I ever felt that I could like be extroverted at all was like being in Loving Memory. And like I remember like begging my mom so we could go on that Omaha show tour or whatever, and like I was like, it's the only thing that makes me be able to talk to people and stuff. So that impacted my life. And then now I have a 13-year-old daughter. Well, she turns 14 next month, and like she's so into music, and so being able to like share that with her, which I could never imagine doing that with my mom. Like she likes screamo. She loves going to screamo shows with her mom, and like sometimes her mom's like playing. That's like just wild to me. That's been really cool.
Hell yeah. Yeah, like DIY and punk is like kind of continued to be a part of my life like pretty much all along. So like I kind of approach like business and stuff like that, and like with like the kind of similar like mentality, like, you know, do it yourself and stuff. So, and like treat people the way that, you know, that you'd like to be treated and stuff, you know, like with like an open mind and everything. So I think that that's like really kind of what's like stuck with me about, you know, being a scene kid when we were kids and all that.
Super cool. What are your thoughts on the new screamo or SCRAM scene?
That's you.
Scrams, shout out to Alex Bigman who's here tonight. I like it. I mean, I think it's cool. I think there's such a variety in the screamo now. I think we were just talking about this in the car. Like back in the day, like we'd have to like adhere to like there's like rules of like to make something be like this genre, this genre, this genre. And I feel like a lot of the bands today are just experimenting a lot more and putting a lot like different sounds in there, which I think is awesome to hear. Like, because I like so many different genres of music, and sometimes you get to hear them all in one song and with screaming, and it's, I don't know, I think it's awesome, and I love to see it, and I love to see how excited everybody is still, because it just makes me feel like so relatable to like, or they're relatable to me. I don't know. Did that even answer the question?
Makes sense.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah. One more question. What is some advice you give to young people or anyone who wants to start a band or play music?
I go for it. Do it. Try it. Yeah. Try it. Go play a show. I think it's probably harder now, like putting stuff out on the internet and then you get like haters or whatever. But I feel like that could distract you when you actually are good, or, you know, I say just do it and keep trying and keep putting it out there. Go see if you can hop on a show. Seeing a band live is so different, I think, sometimes too, and like get a different feel. And everybody that ever like experienced us back in the day only like saw us live. I mean, for a long time, that was the only way to like digest it. And so go keep putting on shows, put on a show in your mom's basement. Like we did plenty of that stuff too, and just keep doing it.
In Loving Memory, live in a basement.
Yeah, the classic footage. Yeah, all of our parents would let us have shows in our basements and stuff. It was pretty wild. Yeah, I think, yeah, don't really give a shit about whether or not you're like all that good or proficient at what you're doing. Just like kind of, you know, let it rip. Go out there and like do it just because it's fun. It's fun to do with your friends and shit. And
Yeah.
if you do it together, you'll get better. You know.
Okay. So we actually have some gifts for you.
So the audio just decided to cut out at the end, but I just want to thank everyone who helped make this video possible, and most importantly, thank you in loving memory for giving me the opportunity to interview them. Thank you.